Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media, for this is Anti-Media Radio.
I want to get the language right. The big government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
My name is S.M. Gibson. This is Anti-Media Radio. It is November the 10th, 2016. 2 days ago was the day that we've all been waiting for. Everyone's been talking about it nonstop. I'm sure we probably are going to talk about it nonstop tonight too. Start the show with some unfortunate news for those who've ever heard of singer-songwriter, poet Leonard Cohen. He passed away at the age of 82 today. I've always been a huge fan of his work. Some people may know him. He wrote the song Hallelujah that Jeff Buckley covered and made famous. Also, Rufus Wainwright covered it. That's how most people know him, but he actually has an extensive catalog that I please highly recommend you go listen to, check out, read. He has many poetry books as well, and we lost one of the great ones with Leonard Cohen. We're going to bring on our co-host for the evening, Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon, what's going on?
Good evening, Mr. Gibson. How are you?
I'm here. I'm doing better than I guess everybody else. I think apparently from the media and by the looks of the people in the street, people are not tired of looking like fools. So we have what seems to me to be organized protests, which I'm sure there's a lot of people joining it organically, the Pied Piper. They join what's cool and hip and popular. But these protests, means nothing to me. I'll tell you why it means nothing to me. And I'll let you comment and give me your opinion, and we can talk about the election. We can talk about the whole thing. But first off, where's the media been in North Dakota? They haven't covered those protests. Not at all. So they don't care about protests. They don't care about the will of the people. None of that. They care about divisiveness. WikiLeaks has shown us repeatedly, over and over and over, that the media is in bed with the political establishment. Also, look, where were these people when Barack Obama was bombing 8 countries? They didn't protest any of that.
Barack Obama bombed 8 countries? Are you serious?
Oh, it happened, buddy.
Yeah,
nobody protested that. Nobody was protesting the fact that Barack Obama was deporting a lot of people back to Mexico, if that's their issue. Nobody protested any of that. And the media certainly wasn't covering anybody speaking out about it. So why now? It's because we live in a culture that everybody gets their feelings hurt when they don't get their way. And if this had anything to do with policy, then they certainly wouldn't have voted for Hillary Clinton. And as we've talked about many times on this show, I've got a lot of problems with Donald Trump. But, you know, as we talked on Tuesday, I had my day of depression on Monday because I knew that it did not matter which person won. With Trump, you know, I think he's going to be a lot different person than we've seen because I think he's a chameleon. I think he's someone that's not to be trusted. And we'll see, you know.
He's a TV personality, and that's what I mean. You know, he's going to read the lines off whatever script is handed him. Now, bear in mind, let's hope there's somebody there to hand him a script because left to his own devices,
he's a lot of things. He's a lot of things, and we're going to have to see what that is. And time's going to tell, and we're going to have to deal with that when that comes. We've already seen him do a couple of things, you know, that goes against what he talked about. One being his all
talking about running as a Republican. Is that what you're talking about? No, go ahead.
Well, his statement on banning all Muslims from immigrating to the United States. The statement on his website magically disappeared. Now, as of tonight, it is back up because somebody called out the Trump campaign on, hey, why is this gone? Where did it go? And they said, oh, you know, never mind. And
Donald was in there fooling around with the website. We won't let him play with the computer again.
Right, and it's magically back up. But another one is how Donald Trump has talked about how he doesn't want the corporations and the banks. They don't control him, I think Dimon has come out and said that he was not going to do it. But Jamie Dimon, the CEO of J.P. Morgan, Trump's campaign was floating as a Secretary of Treasury. And a militarized, if he goes after the stupid wall, that's a big problem because and that's historical. You don't see societies throughout history building gigantic walls, militarized walls, borders, and that working out very well for anybody. You don't do that if you want to live in a free society. But again, we're going to have to see what he does, where he goes, and we'll be on the front lines to cover it and to, you know, provide the appropriate pushback when needed, just like we did with Barack Obama. The thing about what's going on right now and all these people that are upset, they asleep at the wheel. And I'll say this for Donald Trump. You know what? He may drag us into World War III in his second year in office, but Hillary Clinton was going to do it her second day in office. And people are they're brain dead. What are they protesting for? I mean, fair enough, do it. It's your right. Go for it. But it's just to stir up more division in this country. And it's the me mentality. That's what I think. And I think there's a part of people that are a little bit happy that this happened, even though they may not realize it or admit it to themselves. And I'm talking about the people protesting, because that gives them a reason to go, I've been victimized because Donald Trump won. Have you been? You were victimized because that happened? Because guess what? Hillary Clinton winning, what was that going to be, some grand utopia? No, it wasn't. Far from it. The people have no idea what's going on out in the world. They've been used as pawns this entire time. Donald Trump used people as pawns to get elected. Hillary Clinton certainly has used people as pawns to get elected. That's why politicians, as Hillary Clinton said in her own emails, there's public positions, there's private positions. That's every single politician. Donald Trump's no different. But people fall for it. How are we still at this? How are we still where we're at that people are falling for this?
Well, I do have to bring this up because, you know, this actually, social media has been very entertaining the past few days, and I'll just leave it at that. Again, let's throw this back on the table. I purposely registered to vote in the state of Alabama and I purposely did not vote. I wanted my vote to be heard, and that's how I made my vote heard. My vote for nobody. Nobody was actually the clear winner in the state of Alabama, at least, because 39% of registered voters in this state did not vote. So actually, if you break it down percentage-wise, nobody was the clear winner in the state of Alabama. Now, having said that,
it gets worse, Shannon.
That's numbers, baby.
It gets worse, Shannon. Approximately, I'm just going to go roughly on this. I'm not. Roughly 25% of the country voted for Hillary Clinton. Roughly 25% of the country voted for Donald Trump. And roughly 50% of the country voted for neither one of them.
Yep. Nobody is the clear winner in this election. So, you want to go ahead and say, oh, this election is rigged. Look, now Trump won. Well, I don't know. I think if the majority had their say, nobody would be president, correct?
Well, maybe somebody would be president, but not the two people that they just put in front of us. But
the clear. It wasn't even close. It was a landslide. Nobody won for president. And so, really, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think our delegates and electoral colleges should make sure that nobody's president.
Well, I'm not gonna let you get away with this easy, Mr. Madden.
Bring it.
You and pretty much everybody else said repeatedly, Hillary Clinton's going to be president. And what have I said for a solid year? What did I say?
Even mainstream media, every single mainstream media outlet, the next morning declared not only did Donald Trump win, but it was a stunning upset.
First off, we are the anti-media, and there's one thing anytime that's ever been brought up on this show, one topic specifically, I would immediately interject and say, stop, I don't care and I don't want to hear it, and that's polls. Anytime you, Kevin, a guest, whoever, talked about a poll, I said, stop talking. This is pointless. We're just talking about some numbers some guy made up to persuade people to vote for their candidate. Mm-hmm. Propaganda, polls mean nothing.
Now let's bear in mind.
And this is before the election. This is not something that I've been talking about this for a solid year. I also said for a solid year, Hillary Clinton would never become president of the United States. And here we are. But it's the rhetoric of the media. It's a bunch of lies that people shove down people's throats, and we're seeing it now at these protests. Now the media is trying to stir people up for something else. How are people still buying this? How are they still believing this garbage?
Wasn't there supposed to be a bunch of rioting in the streets if Trump didn't become president? So either way, we were looking at protests and riots, correct?
I think it would have been differently. First off, I believe that they didn't announce. I feel like they had it pretty locked up that he had won earlier in the evening, and I don't think they announced it until 3 a.m. to keep people from rioting, which was probably actually smart. Mm-hmm. But now we see protests over the country. Still sure when anybody's protesting. Again, Barack Obama bombed a whole bunch of countries. That would have been the time to start protesting everybody. But,
or better yet, when we're talking about issues of race in this country, when Sandra Bland came up with this mysterious case of suicide, when Tamir Rice was shot in a public park for playing with a toy gun, for the countless other, and we can run down the list of the past couple of years of the various different, the story that came out of South Carolina and the video that followed it, man.
Well, when you've got either the Walter Scott shooting, whether it's Eric Garner.
Yes, Walter Scott, thank you.
But, okay, when it's been what we've seen with the Dakota Access Pipeline, or even when it's been people protesting the injustice of police shootings around the country, I have repeatedly voiced I mean, that's something that needs to be done. To speak out when there's been an injustice, to speak out when something has happened, and we need to get past these dividing lines of was it a black person, was it a white person? It doesn't matter. It was a human being, and we all need to stand side by side and shoulder by shoulder. That's not what we're seeing right here. We're seeing a result. I talked about this Tuesday. I've talked about this for the past year. This election is a result of decades of a broken system. We didn't get some great grand news on Tuesday. We didn't, because we knew going into Tuesday that either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton was going to win. So because of that, we knew that the system was broken, and it was a result of seeing somebody like Mitt Romney shove down people's throats, John Kerry, George Bush, Barack Obama for that matter. Whatever your candidate is, just because Barack Obama puts on, look, he handles himself very well. He is a very smooth politician. He's very good at brushing off criticism that comes his way and looking like, hey, I'm trying to do the right thing here. He definitely portrays himself as very level-headed. But then you look at what his administration has actually done, and there's no evidence of that person that you see up there talking on behalf of everybody. We're talking about, today they were spouting about his transparency in this government. Are you kidding me? They just say words and expect people to believe it like this is all real. We have learned, because of Edward Snowden, look at just what we learned from that one person.
There's your transparency right there, and it had to come from outside the United States government.
Okay, let me tell you something. The most transparent president we supposedly ever had, which is they still spewing that nonsense. Chelsea Manning has now tried to commit suicide twice in prison. Why is Chelsea Manning even in prison if you are supposedly some transparent president? Why is that? You're a Nobel Peace Prize winner that is imprisoning a Nobel Peace Prize nominee. Give me a break. Give me a break. People are morons. I mean, let's just call it what it is at this point. They have been played for fools over and over and over. And here's something that Trump, I think, his winning and his tactics of winning, we've talked about that in length on this show, and I'm not even going to get into that. But he tapped in, whatever his real intentions are or whatever they are, but he tapped in to an anger and a frustration in this country that people are tired of being told to shut up. And so he came out there and big boyed everybody and gave everybody the middle finger, and the crowd roared. And that's how he got the support that he did, because people are being told by politicians everything's great. The economy, look, you listen to Obama talk. You listen to the media talk. The economy's doing great. Everybody's doing great. Everything works. Everything's wonderful. Just elect Hillary so we can keep this going. And yet, you're telling that the people who are out of work, who are suffering, who are worried how they're going to pay their bills, and even if people didn't like Donald Trump, because I don't know how people go in for that, but I know there are people that do. What do they care? They're desperate. They're desperate. And that's how somebody like Donald Trump, I think, gets people to believe whatever he's saying. And this is the same thing happened with Obama, though. If you think about it. One other thing he stirred up, though, and we can't let this go unchecked on the show, is that he also stirred up a very, very, very nasty part of America that we kind of were hoping we didn't have to deal with a whole lot of, or at least was
diminishing at a much more rapid rate. And that's the xenophobia, the racism, the sexism, the other various, really, really, really nasty behavior that in 2016 America, we were kind of at least supposed to have moved a little bit further than this, I would think.
Well, we have. Okay, we have. There are still racist people out there in the world, 100%. And hate can come from anybody of any skin color, and it can be directed at anybody with any skin color for whatever reason, and it's inexcusable no matter which direction you're pointing it. But the fact that the media drug up David Duke's name, nobody cares what idiot, moron, racist idiot David Duke thinks. No one talks about his philosophies on the world. Nobody cares who he's voting for. It doesn't matter.
Hey, look, and half of the people that are listening to us are probably asking themselves, and they're probably reaching for their laptops, who's David Duke?
Yeah, he's an idiot. But you know what? The problem is they want to use his name to drum up fear in people, to attach it to Donald Trump, because I'm sorry to tell you, Donald Trump has all his own problems, and yes, he steers in some terrible directions, and we as a country are going to have to come together and fight those one by one. It's just what's going to have to happen. I don't trust.
So how do we do that?
Well,
how do we repair? And that's where my question is, and that's kind of really where my answer to where a lot of the people that are protesting Donald Trump being president, it's not just Donald Trump the president, Donald Trump the man, it's Donald Trump the ideology.
No, they're not. They're protesting because they didn't get their way. That's what they're protesting. And they want to be part of a movement because they got their feelings hurt, because they were told they were going to get
There's no way you can, with one sweeping motion, negate what I just said, though.
Well,
really, you can't rationally do that. There are some people out there.
No, I did. Now, listen, no, you can. I can negate all that, because if these people cared about any of that stuff, if they genuinely cared about it, okay, then they would have been protesting Barack Obama bombing 8 countries. They didn't. If the media cared, they would have been covering the North Dakota pipeline protest. They didn't. They don't care about the real issues. I hope they do. I hope they become all enlightened and they start caring. And you know what? The second Barack Obama or Donald Trump says that he's going to build his wall, then that's when people need to go, no, we're not going to take this. We don't want a wall in this country. And then you have an actual issue to protest. But right now, what are they protesting? Donald Trump not being president? Okay, so what's the alternative? Hillary Clinton and World War III and more of that? No, there's no answer there. People stayed asleep for so long in this country. Now they finally have, it's all hit them in the face. This is what our system, but they still don't know why this happened. They think that it's some sort of influx of hate in this country. It's not. He got elected for the same reason that Barack Obama did. George Bush lied to people over and over and over. And guess what? A candidate completely opposite comes in and promises change. And everybody bought into that change. And guess what? Nothing happened. There was no change. It got worse. So now you have a completely different rhetoric, completely different political theory, so you say, and he says, I promise change. And that's what people want. People in this country want genuine change. Is Donald Trump the person that's going to deliver it? I do not believe so, just like Barack Obama didn't. But people are hungry for change. What are they protesting? What are they protesting? They're protesting the me culture. It's ridiculous. It is. When he gets up there and says, we're going to build a wall for protest, right then, we don't need that wall. We don't need a militarized army on our border. History shows that is a bad, bad, bad move. Okay? What's some of the good things that he's talked about, the Federal Reserve? Will he ever do that? I don't think so. But why don't we push him in that direction? Why don't people come together and push for Donald Trump to actually do something about the Federal Reserve? Why don't people push Donald Trump in the direction of having a real investigation into 9/11 and what actually happened there? Or is that, is that too uncomfortable for people because they want to live in their ivory towers like, oh, everything's great? That's all this was. Everybody thought that everything's wonderful. And my feelings. And what? Hillary Clinton didn't become president, so your feelings are hurt? Big deal. My feelings are hurt because the system's so screwed up from top to bottom. My feelings are hurt that people keep buying this garbage. But what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Actually, my feelings aren't hurt over any of those things because I'm a jerk and don't really care at this point. And I just think everybody's just brainwashed and bought into it. Celebrity culture. It's celebrity culture. The same celebrity culture. Look, Jay-Z ain't getting nobody elected. We saw that. LeBron James ain't getting nobody elected. But Barack Obama himself came across as a star. Himself. He had star power. And he won in a landslide. Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, he's been famous for a long time. A long time. He has star power. And it's the culture we live in. We live in a fake, fickle culture. Hillary Clinton did not have star power. Her husband does, but she does not.
Nobody likes that woman.
Exactly.
I mean, and the few people that do like her are the people that are on the front lines of the field patrol tonight. I'm rather shocked. I don't know why I'm so shocked, but I never expected, and again, I guess I've lived long enough. I grew up in was born in one of the administrations. I grew up mainly in from Reagan on, and watched the trajectory of the American public. And I don't know, not in my lifetime have I ever seen people be this galvanized about a political race, and even people that are not affiliated with any party.
You're 100% right about that.
You would know so by looking at the poll results, because there's still 50% of the population, voting population, that didn't vote. I'm one of them.
I didn't vote.
And you listed,
but here's the thing.
You listed a whole sack full of reasons why I didn't vote. Because again, we're just going to get more. We are going to get more of the same. There is no hope and change here. There is still. I don't know if anybody's read through Trump's 100-day plan. Man, that's some scary stuff right there. I mean, people really need to go take a look at that. Go get up on Google. There's a cute little graphic that they've made. It's got all of his little points listed there that he's going to do in 100 days. Good luck with all that, man. I do not want to live in that country. If he's able to succeed in all of that and the whole entire list, I'm out, dude.
Here's the thing.
Canada, here I come.
Here's the thing with Trump that, I tried preaching it, the so-called conservative movement. Donald Trump never even insinuated, not even kind of insinuated, that he was going to make government smaller at any point, ever. Not even close. It's government. When government gets bigger, freedoms diminish. Government's huge right now, and our freedoms are waning on such a point that they're hardly even existent. And for him to want to expand government is crazy. That's where we're at. But again, it was both candidates. It was both of them. We put ourselves in this position by sticking our heads in the sand, by people thinking they know everything about everything. Oh, everybody's so smart. If everybody's so smart, why is everybody so surprised today that Hillary Clinton didn't become president? Why? People don't know anything, but they have convinced themselves because they got a fancy degree that means nothing. And
so I've got to ask you this, though. Do you really honestly believe that the vote in all and all of its faults and flaws or this, that, and the other, it is truly not a rigged vote?
Oh, no, that's not true at all. It is rigged. It's 100% rigged.
I mean, she did win the popular vote.
Well, here's the thing, and I wanted to make this
that
point.
kind of does bear mentioning a little bit, but at the same time, you pointed out earlier, that's still 25% of the voting population.
Right. Well, at the end of the day, you say you didn't vote, and I say I didn't vote. Well, the reality is, Shannon, that we did, because we live in a state whose vote went towards Donald Trump. And I could have gone in there.
But we still didn't vote. Our vote matters, though. And maybe us not voting doesn't matter? What are you saying here?
What I'm telling you is you could have gone and written in Vermin Supreme. I could have written in Leonard Cohen or Nick Saban, Ric Flair, and guess what? It would have still been counted. The box would have been ticked for Donald Trump because that's the way the system is set up. The system's beyond flawed. And the complete irony in all of this is the same exact people a week ago that were saying the system works perfect. Donald Trump's a sore loser. He's a sore loser. It flipped on them. And now they're saying the system doesn't work because their candidate didn't win. In actuality, the system was broken no matter which candidate won. But people don't want to realize that because they're so in this division, and it's my team against your team. And they don't want to look at the system as a whole. They don't want to extract themselves and go, wow, I don't want to be on either team here. And let's just look at it for what it is. And you see that the system's completely broken. It did not matter who won. It really didn't. You're going to get differences between the people. Undoubtedly, you are. Because, again, who knows what Donald Trump's going to do, but for a fact, Hillary Clinton was going to get us in war with Russia real fast. Donald Trump may still too, but at least he wasn't walking around bragging about it like she was.
Well, at this point, do you see us diminishing any of our military role over in the Middle East?
No. I'm curious to see how that goes because he has said so much. At 1 minute, he's all for big government, or we got to expand the military, when we've talked about how overbloated that the military is right now. We spend 56% of our annual budget going towards the military, right around that number. And, we're outspending what the next 8, 9, 10 countries combined, might I add, on our military expenditures. But, he talks about, well, we want to try to get along with this, we want to try to get along with that. But that's what Donald Trump did, didn't he? He literally said everything, and that way everybody could find something they agreed with him on because he said it, even if it was completely the opposite of something he had said 2 weeks prior. And that goes back to him, being a snake oil salesman, kind of. I think that's how Trump ran his campaign, a very good snake oil salesman that had studied the works of Vince McMahon quite a bit. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't think it'll change now. I don't. I am curious to see how the Syria-Russia relationship changes, and if he'll back off of Assad, because, we'll see. But I don't personally see it. And I definitely don't see this whole non-interventionism as far as Ron Paul, I guess you could say. He's kind of flirted with ideas like that. That's not going to happen. He's not going to do any of that. Actually, I read earlier that he had already talked to the president of South Korea, and you know how he said, we're not going to do this and we're not going to do that, having troops in all these countries. And supposedly the phone call went as such as saying, yeah, don't worry about it. We're going to still be there. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. That's kind of what I expect a lot of this Trump stuff to be. He may not build the wall. He may not do anything he said he was going to do. None of it would shock me. If he literally did everything completely the opposite of what he said, wouldn't shock me at all. So the serious stuff, I want to keep my eye on. I am curious to see how that plays out. But as far as the world policing, I doubt that changes one bit. One bit. I don't think it.
Do you think that we'll actually really see just a really genuine friendship between Putin and Trump? I know that we've had a bunch of dank memes floating out around, during this election, based off a sentence or two, or a sound bite here or something like that, But I mean, do you really think that there is a true, general mutual respect for one another there, or maybe that's just something for the cameras and down?
That's a good question. I think they'll try to get along with each other for sure. I don't know if you saw the report on Wednesday, and the media was trying to kind of spin it one way, but Russian politicians, when they got the news that Trump won, they all started cheering. And one of the senators, members of parliament, whatever, was interviewed and said, he goes, it's not that we're a fan of Donald Trump. He said, we're not. He said, but we were so terrified of Hillary Clinton becoming president because she's a warmonger and she wanted to start war with us. That's why we cheered. And now maybe there's a chance of reconciliation. And I know even the Philippines, they've come out and said, everybody's like, all right, we can reset our relationships now. I'm curious to see what happens with NATO, because they've got Russia surrounded right now. I mean, we've been talking about the NATO situation with Russia for weeks, for months. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But they've definitely positioned themselves for war with Russia. I think it's funny how Hillary Clinton, DNC, and the media pushed this whole narrative forever that Russia's trying to rig the election. Russia's trying to rig the election. Russia's trying to rig the election. Well, Donald Trump won. So if they were trying to rig it, don't you think that had been talked about? Not one person's mentioned it. Not one. Not that I've heard. There's still a few hangers-on on social media that bought that whole lie. But, WikiLeaks and Russia and that whole garbage. I still say that
we've now, Julian Assange has come forth and said that the original source of the leaks was not Russian at all. There was
never any proof that it was ever. That's been
never any proof. Not one shred of evidence. Not one email.
That's been, debunked so many times. And real quick, speaking of our foreign policy, I just want to throw this out here real quick. In Syria, we've seen, it was, I guess, the night of the election, 20 civilians got killed from a U.S. airstrike. So we're still seeing casualties. We see them every single week. We see civilians. And I saw where the Pentagon released numbers that said that whatever the past couple of years, 119 civilians have gotten killed, which is not true. I mean, that is 119 too many, but the real number I read from some of the different human rights organizations, the number is somewhere around 1,700, wow. Which is a much different than 119. But, that's the propaganda, and they never want people to know what they're really doing. And people don't know what they really do. They don't have a clue. If they did, they would. I really believe, as much as I sit here and giving everybody a hard time tonight, I do believe that people really genuinely understood what was happening in this country, they would go protest. But the media has clouded everyone's judgment. They've got people believing all this nonsense. the education system in this country is so screwed up. The university system in this country is so screwed up. People don't think for themselves anymore. They think in blocks. And if the people in your certain block or whatever kind of person you want to present yourself as feels a certain way, well, that's what you go with, and you don't question it. And anybody that says different, you automatically look at them and go, well, you're crazy and you're wrong. And that's what they did with Trump. You're crazy and you're wrong. And what happened? They didn't get their way, and now everybody's throwing a tantrum over it. And the reason that I say Donald Trump still is an opportunist out for himself and, you know, his own pocketbook. They throw all the racism stuff at him, but they did that with Mitt Romney. Nope. Joe Biden said he's going to put everybody back in chains. First off, speaking of the Clintons literally did put thousands of black people in chains. That literally happened. And she's the one calling people racist. And there's people, nobody's protesting about her being racist. Bill Clinton literally signed a crime bill in the 90s, mandatory minimum sentencing, that put
super predators.
That put thousands of black people in chains, in prison, broke up families, and that's never mentioned. Nobody's protesting over her being racist.
Check out the Netflix film, The 13th. Speaks a lot about what you just talked about. Kind of expounds on it. Pretty great detail.
So people have to get over their false sense of pseudo-intellectualism, and they have to start thinking for themselves. They have to stop. The first thing people have to do, they don't need to listen to me. They don't need to listen to what they read on the Anti-Media or the Free Thought Project or Fifth Column, but they certainly don't need to listen to what's on CNN, Fox News, anything. Read it for yourself. Look up for yourself. Educate yourself. There's no one person out there. There's no one place to go to get the right answer. Everybody just wants the right answer. I can tell you right now that at least Fifth Column, Anti-Media, the alternative sites, we go out of our way to do our best to give everybody what we see are facts that we can research and go back to and say, yes, this all seems to be in line. But question everything and question everybody. The mainstream media, on the other hand, they don't want anybody. They intentionally don't want people to be educated. They want people to go along with these talking points. They want to steer people in these certain directions. They don't want people knowing what the real truth is. They're not going to sit there and harp about protest in North Dakota because that's not part of their agenda. But they are going to talk about these protests because that is part of their agenda of division. They will talk about that, but they won't talk about the protests in North Dakota. Why is that? Why is that? It's certainly not for the will of the people. It's not.
And again, not that there's not been any mention of it on mainstream media, because there'll be a few people that'll say, well, wait a minute now, I saw a blurb about it on CNN and this, that, and the other. And that's the thing, is that you'll see a quick 2-second, 5-second little blurb, quick camera shot, a couple words, and then bam, let's go on to something else. Nobody has really gone into why that protest has gone on as long as it has, why it has gotten as massive as it has, and as far-reaching as far as the actual local police bringing in outside municipalities to help them combat these evil protesters. I mean, it is a sad situation out there, and you know, it's not sexy, you know, news media. We want swearing and cursing and screaming and mud throwing and people, you know, rioting and looting and killing, and I mean, it's all sensationalistic. It's horrible.
It's sensationalistic, but what they want is division. They want people to be divided.
Bingo.
They want people arguing amongst themselves. Because if you're arguing with your neighbor, you aren't paying attention to the people that are really screwing both you and your neighbor at the same time. That's what they don't want you paying attention to. And unfortunately, it's the people in government, which the media is, at this point, we can just say a 100% extension of government and its narratives. We saw it come out in WikiLeaks over and over and over, feeding questions to candidates and debates, helping write interviews for Donald Trump and consulting Hillary Clinton, helping do interviews with Hillary Clinton and consulting Hillary Clinton. It's just a big PR firm for the government. The biggest loser, if you've been paying attention, in the entire past year, from everything of Donald Trump's rise, from WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, from Hillary Clinton and all her lying, the biggest loser has been the media. They've been exposed finally. Corporate media is not dying. It's dead. It's dead. There's no journalism. There's no journalistic integrity. There's certainly no truth. And Tuesday was the period, the actual jab exclamation point on that sentence. Because everything they said up until 10 o'clock on Tuesday night for the past year was proven wrong. Not only that, it was all a big lie to push you or your neighbors, everybody in a certain direction. Now, they want to tell you, well, we feel pretty stupid right now because we were so wrong. But
stunning upset.
But guys, okay, hold on now. We can, I know we've been wrong for the past year, but we're going to be right we're going to be right from today moving forward. So just let us keep telling you what to believe is happening in the world. And they don't care if you're informed about what's happening in the world. They care if you believe a certain narrative to keep you at bay, to keep you just feeling like you're educated enough, like you think you know what's going on, but genuinely you don't have a clue. That's what they want, an appearance that they're telling you something, but truly they're not. They're not telling you anything other than what they want you to know. That, to me, I hope people wake up from it. I hope all these people protesting right now, they wake up and go, they take that anger and they focus it in the right direction. They realize that they've been lied to. They realize that the system is broken. But they have to realize that the system was broken long before Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is a byproduct of the system being broken. He's not the broken system. And that's what they seem to think. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. No, he's a result. He's a symptom of the disease. But the disease is government and the media. This is, people have made their bed, now they're going to have to lie in it. It's unfortunate that it's come to this. And I really genuinely hope that these people carrying these signs that have been passed out and people that are joining protests because there's a group of people, and I don't like Donald Trump, let's go get with this group of people, or people that are getting busted or whatever's happening. I hope they go, wait, we're still falling. We're falling for this again. We're falling for this again. One side is trying to rile us up. But that's it. It's one side against the other. Always, always, always. One side against the other. One side against the other. And they play people against each other. That has to end. People are getting played played. The people that voted for Donald Trump got played. The people that voted for Hillary Clinton certainly got played. Everybody got played in this election. But the fact there's still people hanging on to that, marching through the streets, that's just embarrassing. You got to wake up.
I can't stress this enough. 50% of the voting population did not vote. So our clear winner is nobody.
Well, Ric Flair, Vermin Supreme, it could be anybody. I tell you what.
Man, I really wish Vermin Supreme had showed a little stronger in the polls. Harambe did pretty good, man. Harambe got like 44,000 votes or something like that.
I have seen way different. I've seen 11,000, 55,000. I've seen a bunch of numbers on that.
It was more than one, though. Harambe's not even alive.
It was thousands of votes for a dead gorilla.
Harambe is in heaven.
Thousands of votes for a dead gorilla. I don't know if this is one of the best things that's ever happened in this country, because we're finally at a point where people are starting to realize they've been hosed, or if not, and we're just going to continue the cycle. I
just convince a few more people not to vote. Wow.
But, you know, honestly, and I'll say this, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I've got all the answers, because I don't think I have really any answers. I don't. I can sit here and look at everything that's put in front of me, see how the media portrays a certain thing, look at all the facts, and tell you Hillary Clinton's not going to be president. And I can be right about that. But that doesn't mean, oh, well, I've got the answers for everything. Listen to me. I don't. And I don't think just not voting, I don't think that's going to fix necessarily. I don't think that's just the automatic solution either. I don't know what the solution is, to be honest. It's a huge, huge question. I can tell you this, and this is one thing that people can do that is a solution. Not maybe the solution, but it is a part of the solution. And that is stop focusing on all this division and negativity. Stop getting worked up over some garbage you saw on TV because, oh, my feelings. What you do need to be upset about is when your tax dollars are being spent on innocent people dying, whether it's in the United States and
tax dollars that are stolen from you by the barrel of a gun. But please continue.
Whether it's, you know, an injustice in this country, which we've seen from the Justice Department on down to piddly police departments. We see injustice in this country every day via the government. But on a much grander and broader scale, we don't see, unless you keep your eye out for it, because they're certainly not bragging about it, the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have died overseas because of U.S. bombs, whether it's in Yemen, Libya, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan. It's non-stop. It's non-stop U.S. bombs dropping on people's heads. We have just absolutely caused havoc and chaos, and it's been done with U.S. dollars in the name of freedom, supposedly. I don't really know how that's working out for anybody, but considering everybody has first Donald Trump for a year talked about a rigged system, and now all the people that are upset that he won are talking about it's rigged. So clearly the system is the problem, not the candidate. Where in this case, you know, I think the candidates are the problem, but the system gave us this. People are asleep at the wheel on actual human rights. They're asleep at the wheel what their government's really doing. You have to embrace love. You have to hold people accountable. You have to be good to your neighbor. You have to be good to your loved ones. You have to focus on love and not the negativity. And there's a lot of negativity in the world that does need to be addressed that the U.S. government's carrying out daily. And none of these people, none of them protested Barack Obama bombing all these countries. They're talking about putting 1,700 more ground troops into the Middle East, which they've been putting in troops into the Middle East little by little for a while. We never left Iraq. They changed the name of the troops to advisors. It's an advisory position and say they don't have an active combat role. Yeah, there's combat troops on the ground. What are they doing? What are they doing? Just hanging out? They're not in a combat role. It's how they get around it. They have all these terminologies to say, we're not doing that. But it's happening. Why are people getting killed? Why are there troops over there? If we're not doing it, why do we need the troops there? I'm sorry to tell everybody, but it's not the role of the U.S. government to police the world. It's not. Saddam Hussein was not a good man. But guess what? Iraq is in worse shape today because the U.S. government took him out. Gaddafi was not a good man. Libya is in much, much worse shape today because he is not in power. It's because the United States went in there, they overthrew the government, and they let chaos reign. And because of the chaos that took the place of the dictator that was there at the time, that chaos gives the United States government a reason to be in that country because they go, look how crazy it is, now we need to be here. They want to do the whole point of Syria was to get Assad out of power and do it all over again there. That's what history has told us, recent history has told us the foreign policy of the United States government is to go overthrow countries, let whatever you want to call them, terrorists, which they are terrorists, they're terrorizing nations, but it's certainly not any terrorists that the United States is getting rid of. It's terrorists that the United States, sorry to hurt everybody's feelings, they're creating the terrorism. Now, they're creating them based on the fact that they've overthrown these countries and allowed the climate for them to exist. They've created them by funding them. They've created by training them. They've created by arming them. That's all been proven every step of the way, too.
Now, wait a minute. Are you talking about the Sandinistas or Al Qaeda or ISIS? Which one are you talking about?
Right. You named
all of them. Yeah, that's right.
All of the above. And it's to join in on the chaos because it gives them an excuse to be there. We have seen the United States openly fight next to the Taliban in Syria. Like, no big deal, guys. We hadn't been talking crap about them since 9/11, and there's a reason we're over here. And they just fight right next to them like there's no problem. No, don't worry about this. Don't pay attention to this. That's all. It's bad. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we're still fighting the Taliban. That's in Afghanistan, though. They're okay here. I mean, that's the reality of our world right now. And people need to wake up to it. We got
very quickly before we go, I've got to ask, and this is a burning question that's on everybody's mind. California just legalized recreational marijuana use. Does Trump finally pull the plug and legalize marijuana across the country?
If he can figure out a way to make money from it, yes.
Duh. Ask Colorado.
He's going to really upset his supporters on that one, I think. I don't think, because, he talks about he's going to be the anti-drug guy. But that's
in a few months' time, they'll be all too stoned to care.
For Anti-Media Radio, Shannon Madden, I am SM Gibson. Nick will be back on Monday. Anti-Media Radio out.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.
I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's